On March 3rd, we announced that we were hosting our American 250 Youth Documentary Competition for high school students in our viewing area. Airing now for the first time is the winning submission by Lincoln High School student Braelynn Mrozek.
Rendezvous is about looking at the people that made history and explaining why they're important and telling their stories. Everyone loves a good story.
What skills were necessary for survival on the frontier?
We take things for granted a lot of times, but we have a different mindset. We want to be comfortable. We want good food. They wanted to survive. So survival skills were first and foremost. All their clothing, all their gear, everything was aimed at being able to survive on the frontier.
Oxen were used for all the heavy draft pulling. They were used to move freight. They were used to plow fields, clear the land. Any kind of work like we would do today with tractors, semis, skid steers, pickup trucks, oxen would have done. So training them is kind of a process. It's a lot of love, discipline, and consistency. And you build a relationship with them, working with them, with teaching them the commands, and just working with them consistently, like 3 to 4 times a week. And they normally take about 3 years to be trained to be considered an ox, but it's just a lifetime training and working with them. Okay, so all people, from the rich to the poor, had oxen. So it was more like horses were for war, for royalty, and were real expensive. And so if you had a horse, it was a lot of times used for military service, or your militia service, or for like going to church or the postal service, things like that. Or the ox did all the heavy work. So it did the clearing of the land and farming and freight-wise. So even people like George Washington, he had horses and he had mules. He was a mule breeder, but all the work done at Mount Vernon was with oxen. And so all the way from here in the Indiana Territory and off of the west, they would have used oxen on all groups of people, rich or poor alike, because they were so cost effective to own. They didn't cost a lot of money to feed them, didn't cost a lot of money to buy them, didn't cost a lot of money to maintain them. So they were very, I like to say they were the poor man's power source, but the rich people used them too.
The top 3 forms of entertainment in the 18th century America would have been singing, dancing, and card playing, or early board games. The first circus that we see appeared in America in 1723, and unlike most modern circuses, it was just 2 people. It was a man and his wife. He was a fire eater, or a human salamander, and she was a Lady Samson, or a female strong woman. So we see a lot of these traveling entertainment shows of just small troops of people that would go through, not often, but just enough. They would travel with things like collections of curiosities, which were meant to be educational and amusing as well to audiences. As you looked in this tent, you saw a lot of other entertainments of the time, the glass spinning, the automatons, but as far as frontier entertainments went, singing, dancing, card playing, and the occasional traveling circus troupe.
A lot of times ladies would be wearing a petticoat. Sometimes they would wear multiple. That way, if you wanted to show off your nicer petticoat underneath, it stayed pretty clean. And they, believe it or not, a lot of it was layered. So, for example, you would start with your shift and then put on your stays for a lady. And then you would then put on your petticoat. And then you would put on what I have on is called a bed jacket or a gown, or like an overgown. And they would use pins to pin them on, because apparently buttons were not a lady's thing.
Men's clothing, it's a little complicated. There's a lot to it, but everything was designed, as is today. A lot of the fashions and stuff come from France in those eras, so it isn't always practical. You don't show your elbows when there are women present. You would never be seen in just a shirt. You always wear a waistcoat. The smock, the overcoat, is just to protect my good clothes that are underneath.
So we had an America 250 Youth Documentary Competition. We encouraged high school students to create documentaries about where they were from, their hometowns, and how the American Revolution happened to their town. And we have so thankful that the winner is here today, and that her name is Braelynn Mrozek, and she is our winning documentary. We're going to watch that.
And they normally take about 3 years to be trained and considered an ox, but it's just a lot.
Braelynn,
Want to
you
come
want
ahead
to
up?
come and get your prize?
Tell everybody what it is.
It is a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and congratulations.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Yes, thank you.
It was about a week before we started Rendezvous, and we were just working on the grounds, and my mom brought it up to me, and I wasn't really interested in the reward, but it was just something that was fun to do.
She gets very zoned in, so when she starts a project, that's all her mind thinks about, so she's constantly trying to figure out what her next move is or where she's going to go with it.
So the idea was brought up to me, and I like editing videos, so I thought it was just like a fun thing to do, and me and my family have done Rendezvous for 6 years, so I already knew a lot about it, and I knew who to ask questions to, so that was it just worked out.
It's honestly, her brain just works a little differently, and her imagination is through the roof, and she's good at storytelling, and so it's pretty nice to see the creative side come out in her.
I was working at the booth most of the time because I still volunteered, and then I would just go around whenever people had breaks, and I would make sure to interview them. I made sure to interview people based off what they do, so most of it I was going to interview this guy Blake, but he told me to interview a bunch of other people that were entertainers, and they would be better for answering questions. So I kind of just sorted out the questions. I know Frank, he's really smart and he knows his history, so he was a good one to interview too. I had a lot of fun. I already knew a lot of facts about it, but then interviewing people, I learned things that I didn't know before.
It's really exciting. I know this is something she really enjoys, and so to see it pay off, and it kind of gives her a boost in her confidence, so definitely something that I think she'll want to do something bigger than this later on.
I was so excited. I didn't actually think I would win, and I had a lot of doubts about what I made, but when I got the email, I was so excited, and I ran to tell my family. It was just really good.
Actually spoke with Braelynn and her family later that weekend, and they told me she was already out practicing her video skills with her new camera. Congratulations again, Braelynn.